everyone, it's Maria here in the church library because I know that current events are sparking this renewed interest and desire to learn about what the effect of race in our society right now, what it means to be white, and what it means for white people to work against racism in our country right now. And because of that interest, a lot of books are out of stock online, and it's hard to get some of the ones that people are wanting to read right now. But here at the church library, we have a really great selection of books about race and whiteness and anti-racism. So I want to show you these. You can check any of these out by contacting Brad Aldifer in the church library, and the library catalog is available on the Salford website, so you can look more there for other books that we have in the library. I want to start with a few books that do a really great job of naming the Black experience in this country, what racism is looking like right now, and what it means for white people to be involved. And the first one is a well-known one, Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates. And this one is a very short, succinct book by a Black man in the United States, just naming very starkly what it means to be Black in the U.S. right now. This is a hard book to read, but it's really important for white people to read this book. He is not Christian, and he recognizes the role of the church in racism and names really well what racism looks like right now and what the Black experience is. So this is a really good one to start with. Along those lines, from a Christian perspective, is Tears We Cannot Stop. The subtitle is A Sermon to White America by Michael Eric Dyson. And this one is also a short book, but another really powerful one about what it means to be African American in our country right now and what white Christians need to know about that. So these are two really important ones to start with. Another one in that category is Trouble I've Seen by Drew Hart. Drew Hart is a professor at Messiah College, and he is a self-proclaimed Anablacktivist. He talks about himself as a Black Anabaptist anti-racist worker, and he is working here to explain how racism affects the church, specifically the Anabaptist church, and what we can do about it. So he uses some personal stories and some analysis there. That's a really good one. Democracy in Black is one that is a bit more analysis about how we got to where we are and where we need to go. This one is by Eddie Glaude Jr. This is another one that's available here in the library, and it's also pretty short. We also have a number of books that name some of the history of racism in our country and how we got to where we are now, where racism is so entrenched in our institutions in this country that people can be not even doing really obvious, overt racist acts, but still be participating in a racist society, and that's how racism is perpetuated right now. So these really help us understand how we got to where we are now. The first one in this category is The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. This is a few years old, but a really important introduction to how race is a part of the criminal justice system, how we have created a system that just in its very functioning as it is meant to function affects Black people differently than it affects white people. So this is a really important one to understand the current criminal justice system. Another one that talks about some of the history is called Slavery by Another Name by Douglas Blackmon. And this one looks particularly at the history of sharecropping and other ways that Black people were continued to be pressed into forced labor after slavery. And it does a good job of reminding us that slavery is not just something that ended 150 years ago and is over, but it's something that has been perpetuated in different ways and continues to affect our society. Another book that looks at some of the history of race is this one called Blood at the Root, which looks at some of the effects of racism since slavery, particularly starting with a story of a small town that I believe in the 70s forcibly removed all the Black people from the town appropriated their land and their crops, and it remained a town that was entirely white until the 1990s. So this is a particular story, but it also looks at some of the more general history. Another one that looks at the history since slavery is The Half That Has Never Been Told. And this one, by Edward Baptist, is one that actually looks at the connection between slavery and the capitalist system in America, and how so much of our economic system was founded on slavery, and that continues to affect our economics even now. There are a few that are more story-based and more focused on particular experiences. One is The Blood of Emmett Till by Timothy Tyson. This is a white historian, and he looks specifically at the story of Emmett Till, but also the events leading up to the civil rights movement, including lynchings and the lynching of Emmett Till. Timothy Tyson wrote another book called Blood Done Sign My Name. That's one that I have, and it's just a really powerful story about race in America. Another story is this one, The Warmth of Other Suns. I have not read this one, but I've heard that it is really beautifully written as a story of the Great Migration of black families from the South to the North over much of the 20th century. And then two others that are on a little different lines. One is The Race Beat. And this one looks particularly at the history of reporting and how that affected the civil rights movement. And this last one I want to show you is called March. This is by John Lewis, and it's 3 graphic novels. So we have the set here at the church, and these explore the civil rights movement in graphic novel form. So that's a really different way to explore this if you're looking for something different. I also want to show you a few books that I have in my own library, but that you can also borrow right now if you would like. One of them is called Ferguson and Faith, and this is one that looks really closely at our current context, who the leaders are that are rising up, and what our faith has to say about that. This is a classic, but another really important foundational one for understanding race in America, James Baldwin's The Fire Next Time. A short book written many years ago, but also really powerful. And then this one is dear to my heart. I don't have the actual book with me, so I just printed out the cover. It's called Shalom Sisters. Oshia Moore is an Anabaptist woman who does a really beautiful job of naming the ways that we can be peacemakers in our everyday lives. This one is not specifically about race, but she is an African American woman. She's currently working on a book called Dear White Peacemakers. That one is not out yet, but this one has a lot of important things to say about race and about peacemaking in general in our daily lives. This one comes with a study guide. It's really great. It's also available from Menno Media. And there's one other book. And this one is from a white perspective. It's called Waking Up White. This one is also checked out right now, but it'll be back soon, so I just printed out the cover. Waking Up White is a white woman's perspective of learning about her race and the way her race affects her relationships, and making changes in her life to become more anti-racist. So this one is more of a narrative, but from a white woman's perspective. Oh, and I wanted to show you a few books that are also more general in our church library, but also really good to pick up right now. One is called The Gospel Next Door, and this is also, like Shalom Sisters, this is about living our faith in our day-to-day life and what it means to work for justice where you are and live the gospel where you are. And we have 2 books about the undocumented experience and immigration. Undocumented by Sarah Quezada is a narrative of learning about immigration and documentation and what it means to be undocumented, and this woman's eyes being open to that process. Our God is Undocumented is a series of essays about immigration and faith. And there are many more good books in this library, but I wanted you to know about what was available, and feel free to reach out to the church office or to myself to check